Greetings, welcome. This is Christine Bundy on Gibson County, Indiana, State Coordinator for the Indiana Assembly. And this is Sunday, the 21st of May of 2023, 7 p.m. Central. And welcome to the call. And we'll get things started here. We'll take a moment first to honor our Creator. All right. All right. So we're going to start something a little bit different here to give others time to get into the call, because sometimes they have some technical difficulties. Totally get it. Technology, love-hate relationship. So we want to give them some time. So we'll do a few other things. Plus, YouTube is not always the most friendly. So, but there are some things that we still are important that we want to go through. And hopefully this should switch over for us. Then let's see. Let me reset the screen share. Yep, it went. I've done it. Okay. All right, we're going to read the Declaration of Independence. It is not as long as you might think it is. It is also available on the Assembly website in a PDF version. This is the PDF that's on the website, has the link as well as in the presentation, and I'll be adding that PDF afterwards. All right, Declaration of Independence. Now, if you'll notice, it leads in. So in Congress, July 4th, 1776. Before I get deep into this, Casey, I'm welcoming you to the call. Since you're on here, you've been designated that if there are issues, if you can't hear, can't see, to help give me a heads up so I can be able to do what I can. Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you, dear. All right. And I think that should be all the housekeeping from this point. Okay. All right. It leads in, of course, in Congress, July 4th, 1776. The unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. So if you notice, it doesn't actually say Declaration of Independence. It says the unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare. Now, says here, it requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these, it's not just these, it's among these, which means there's more. But among them, specifically, they pointed out life, very important, your liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer. They're willing to suffer while evils are sufferable than to simply right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. Not just governmental forms, but your everyday customary forms, because it all bleeds in, it all carries over. It's the same behavior. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it's their right, it's their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been this patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having indirect object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. All right, and for this segment, where it has singular tense, I'm going to convert it to plural tense. And you'll see why as we go through, because at the time it was directly pointed to the King of England, where this is now where it's a group, right? So they've refused their assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. They have forbidden their governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till their assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, they are utterly neglected to attend to them. They've refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. They've called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with their measures. They have resolved representative houses repeatedly for opposing the manly firmness of their invasions on the rights of the people. And you can use that. We're seeing right now, today, in the U.S. Congress, where the FBI whistleblower has been giving his deposition and stating how they're declaring that they couldn't possibly be whistleblowers. Okay, and so they've made hostile attempts on their lives and their families' lives, because how dare they even speak out? It's not the mafia when they're the mafia, right? Okay, they have refused for a long time after such disillusions to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers incapable of annihilation have returned to the people at large for their exercise. The state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of invasion and from without and convulsions within. This means while the Indiana armored up nationals and citizens, while they're doing nothing, everybody on Indiana is suffering. So think about that. Again, it's easier to go ahead and deal with the suffering than to actually do something that's going to make a change. Okay, not going there. I'm grounding. I got my Got my grounding, I got my rose quartz. Whew, we're making this happen. Okay, they have endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and refusing and raising the conditions of new appropriations of lands. How many people in the inner cities are being removed so that immigrants can be able to be moved in there? In Indianapolis, the homeless camps were all moved out. They did that during the COVID, and then when they came back, they every once in a while they do then another round of sweeping them all out. They've obstructed the administration of justice by refusing their assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers. How many are sitting out there with warrants out there for nonsense? There's no reason. Their whole life is turned completely upside down. And it doesn't affect them in any way, shape, or form, other than they're waiting for that tax collection to come through. They have made judges dependent on their will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount of the payment of their salaries. How many of these township judges go along with any landlord out there that will hold a lawsuit against somebody and run with whatever that landlord says? And that judge goes right along with the payment and goes right along with agreeing to whatever it is. Because really, why does the living man want to walk in those doors? They know it's a trap anyway, so then they just go ahead and catch him on the back end. They have erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance. There are people that work with my husband that they literally pay a fee that's half their pay it's called their freedom tax. I think it's called freedom tax. They have to pay half their pay in order to be able to get out to go to work. Yeah. This is here in Indiana. They've kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. During the time of COVID, they brought in National Guard. That's their armed military. They hijacked our militia, unlawfully converted them into the National Guard, and they became the standing army right in our own backyard. Which became then domestic terrorists and their own family. Who's going to tell them that they're a domestic terrorist when that's the truth at that point? You're killing people, you're injecting people with a needle, and you have no training really to be doing it either. Nor do you have the knowledge of what it is you're injecting in that one's arm, other than you were ordered to do it. I think those might end up turning into longer. That's going to be a whole new form of PTSD. Is those that have to deal with, they weren't in a battle zone and they were injecting their own people. That's a different type of PTSD that they're going to be facing when they realize what it is they did. And that's going to be a hard one. They have affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power. They've combined with others to subject us to jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution, DC, and unacknowledged by our laws, giving their assent to their acts of pretended legislation. For quartering large bodies of armed troops among us, for protecting them by a mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world, for imposing taxes on us without our consent on everything, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. They don't even realize, or they do, but the people don't even realize is that even if they get an attorney to represent them, at the attorney to turn the knee, to represent them, a lot of times that attorney, well, one, they're already foreign because they're a bar attorney, but two, some of them aren't even aren't even licensed on the same state as the one that that's foreign now. That's international trafficking at that point because it's a different state. All hidden. And if you don't know it, what are you gonna do? For abolishing the free system of English laws in a neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule for these colonies. A lot of what has gone on the state of Indiana, for the state of Indiana, that's affected the people on Indiana state, is that they have the county, the municipal, they take the county treasurer and auditor and they convert that into a municipal form, and then they purposely will let buildings and houses sit abandoned purposely and allow them to sit there and rot. You would be surprised how many buildings out there and houses are completely empty, but yet there's homeless everywhere. But yet there's also a super high property tax on it because nobody's actually living there. So there's no reason to have a homestead exemption on there, right? So it's at full rental price, right? For a commercial business. So they can get as much tax on that. For taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and altering fundamentally the forms of our governments. For suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with power to legislate for us all in all cases whatsoever. That's where they deemed themselves, they were able to go over and to Davos and decided they were, state of Indiana decided they were playing that game. They went to the World Economic Forum as well on our dime. They have abdicated government here by declaring us out of their protection and waging war against us. They've plundered our seas, ravaged our coasts, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people. They are at this time transporting large armies of foreign mercenaries to complete the works of death, desolation, and tyranny already begun, with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation. They're still transporting National Guard because it's cheaper to use National Guard than it is the Army. They've constrained our fellow citizens, and the National Guard was never supposed to be leaving our land. The whole point, the militia was actually supposed to be staying on the land. They've constrained our fellow citizens taken captive on the high seas to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands. And that's why they use each other to tell on each other. They've excited domestic insurrections amongst us. They have endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers, the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions. Now, this is now even taking on a deeper, it's an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions, because now we're also in the nonsense of this deciding to be a different gender crap. That's destroying as much as that's continuing, and it's things are going to get worse evidently before people wake up, like it hasn't been as bad as it is already, but some really need that hard hit to wake up. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince, which is they retaliate. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. I was almost tempted to change it from British to any of the others at this point. But now that there's a new head of state for, that's probably going to change a lot of things up there as well. We've reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. That's why they want to controlling of the internet. That's why they also interfere in the postal service. That's all correspondence connections. And they want to link everything to a cell phone. Everything to a cell phone. That's a connection and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity. Everybody else, we can acquiesce to all the other stuff before. Now, if you're going to acquiesce to anything, acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war, in peace, friends. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are and of right ought to be free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as free and independent states, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and do all other acts and things which independent states may of right do. And for the support of this declaration, this is where everybody needs to wake up and realize the weight that we're dealing with here. There is a need to have a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. We mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. We need to come to that seriousness of it. This is not a Hollywood movie drama going on that you only deal with it when they come knocking at your door. That's not how this works. It's affecting everybody. All right. Let's go ahead and see. Anyone that is in the greetings, Johnson County, welcome. Yes, let us know you're here in the chat as you can. Oh, that seems to be, why does that not show? Okay, hold on just a minute before I move to the next thing. Maybe it's because I'm in that it was holding us up. Oh, 5 now. Okay. It's saying it should be good. Okay, we're just gonna keep on going. Let me get do the screen share. Technology. All right. Move forward with the Bivens decision. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflicts and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? There's any response to the Bivens decision for the first time, if you're on the call, or you can put it in the chat in YouTube. Oh, I really hope that's still working through for them on. That's why I try to work out the backups as much as possible here. Okay. All right. Again, is there any response to the Bivens decision for the second time? No comments. And third and final time, any comments to any response to the Bivens decision? Hearing none. Furthermore, anyone who is here under false pretenses or hanging out viewing, just not commenting that they're that they are on the call, or at least viewing, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here, must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises or call. And you would put the comment in the chat. All right. Points of clarity. I'm just going to run through briefly. The full articles are here so you can get it straight from Anna. Specifically, the warning signs that you have district infiltrators is that these are just the first 10, insistent on attacking the leaders, such as the coordinator, Anna, James. There's always someone, it's their fault for something. They didn't tell me something, it's their fault. Attack foundational elements, the paperwork or the assembly process. Many will like to try and alter the paperwork, or even literally will send all of the Federation documents and then literally right in the middle slip in a whatever, there's one that David Straight's doing the affidavit of life or something like that. They'll literally slap that in the middle of the paperwork that they're sending me to finish recording and publishing to their record. And I have to say no, because that's it. You can record that at a county recorder, and it's totally lawful, legit, whatever it is you need for that area, but it's not a land and soil document. Okay. Just some things like that, or they'll alter terms in there that they really don't have the knowledge of what they're doing with. Attack any progress made so far, always complaining about something even though they haven't done a thing to lift their own finger to help. Attack or present themselves honorably, but think they have have any reason to be able to say that they can, or have any standing to complain about anything. Attack assembly ability to make money. We are all volunteer here, and we still have to be able to support the assembly to meet the services that are here. So there are costs involved. Divide and conquer, like to split people up and try to talk directly with each other and get things, try to figure out using gossip and casting doubt upon with each other. Accuse others of what they're doing themselves, accusing that didn't know, and but yet in the same email end up saying the same time. But of course, this is getting to where it's a constant extreme. Attempt to set up a gravy train out of assembly members, hold secret meetings, have private agendas, hijack meeting agendas, impose censorship. All right, the second point of clarity, you've got three choices. You can join the American State Assembly in your state, which is the Indiana Assembly, the one and only that is federation led for the state, for Indiana, the state. Declare that you're an American, which most of us is the obvious fact, and identify yourself as a free man or woman who is owed all the guarantees of the respective federal constitutions. This is the organization that the Americans need to support and belong to in order to enforce their constitutional guarantees and receive the protection of the public law. That's choice number one. Many like to try to strong arm me to accept the de facto as a higher authority on things, to try to bully me to include their paperwork. And no, that doesn't work here either. Your documents are still legit on any county recorder. There's, as long as it's a public record, that they're still good. There's just not a land and soil jurisdiction document. You can join the territorial, which is the district assembly in your state, and declare by doing so that you're a British U.S. citizen, a taxpayer, subject of the Queen, that you're working in some capacity, such as a warrant officer in the British Merchant Marine Service, aka Internal Revenue Agent. That's what you're really doing every time that tax return is filed, is that you're actually saying that you're an agent. You've gone through and collected taxes from others, and you are now turning in what you've collected, and are merely here as a resident while working for this foreign British controlled government. The word district always indicates a foreign government and political structure based out of the District of Columbia. That's choice number two. Or you can join the municipal district assembly nearest to where you live and declare by doing so that you're a slave and a municipal citizen of the United States who is voluntarily working in the service of the Roman Pontiff's municipal United States government and donating all that you are and all that you have to it. This too admits that you're a taxpayer working with a municipal enclave of the District of Columbia and staying here as a resident on temporary basis while working for this foreign theocracy. That's choice number three. All right, third point of clarity, Article 3245, the American way. If they're going to act as Americans, they should not expect or demand endless hand-holding. The information is there for them in you know something is wrong when, and many, many searchable articles and other books. As Americans, they will be expected to show initiative and learn about their own history and government, and to teach others. We're sharing this. It's not about gather as much information as you possibly can so you can look smart as you're talking to other people, but then you don't bother to actually share with them all of what you learned. So this is time for growing up, being mature, getting in and doing our own homework. and not expecting others to be there to do it for you, and stop blaming others, accusing others. And when you're ready to actually provide something, you're actually ready to take some action, then I would love to hear from you. Not that I'm not saying don't enjoy your life and the things that you need to take care of, or if you're having hardships, my heart is with you. I love you. I love you. But we've got a purpose and a mission right now that we have to deal with. And this has to continue moving forward. And if we keep playing catch up to keep everybody caught up because they couldn't even show up, let alone show up on time, let alone show up being prepared. It's time to start showing up and doing something. The first thing to even get started is just showing up. A lot of people say, well, I don't know what to do. Show up. That's the first step. Start showing up. Start being present. And getting in there. Okay. So, reminder of responsibility of the Federation and the flow structure in the government corporate power flow. The Fed is up here, and that's federal, state, county, city, and persons, U.S. citizens, the base, holding it all up. Power flow during state assemblies goes this way. So it is that the Federation of States, which are all the states compiled, but then for each state is the people. So it's base, city, county, state, Confederation of States, and Federation. And then after states has assembled, then it's the base. Because see here, while we're building the assembly in the assembling process, the whole Federation of States is here to support us. It's not like we're out on our own. But again, you have to show up. You have to read the material. You have to be willing to do something. Okay, so that once the state has assembled, the coordinator's role sunsets, and I can be able to do my thing. And I really want to, there's a lot of things that I would like to be able to get actively involved in, but I can't right now. As state coordinator, my hands are tied. I can't, that would be a conflict of interest. There's a lot of things I cannot do because of the role that I am in right now. And I have to set aside my time of being able to support the state as a citizen until the state is assembled, so that the coordinator role can sunset, or someone else who's able to take on the load and do a better job and move things forward and be great. Yes. Thank you. We need that, right? And we're all here to hold our load as long as we can possibly hold our load. And if it's either to continue, but it's always as more help comes along, then each other's load gets lighter, because now more are taking on a load and it gets easier to deal with and more gets done. Because I watched this one YouTuber, she says the phrase, teamwork gets the dream work, something like that. It takes teamwork to make the dream work. There you go. It takes teamwork to make the dream work. Okay, so it takes all of us coming together, and then that way we can be able to straighten all of this up, and it goes through city, county, state, Federation of States, Confederation of States, and Federation. So that way we have that reminder of where the responsibility of the Federation. It literally is only as a support tool. It is not a overpowering governing tool, but it is still the lead regardless. It is the Federation that will still be the ones that determine, because once we get everybody position and start getting things moving, then it's presenting the assembly to the federation to evaluate, review, see if everything is in its proper order, and then they'll release the state to move forward on its own thing from there as well. So it's exciting of how that process works as well. All right, the mission statement for the Indiana Assembly. Our Indiana Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of a complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system, serving the people of Indiana, the preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law, the upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people, and the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction, the filling of vacated public offices, and the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. We got a lot to do. To these ends, we, the living people of Indiana, have called the eligible Indiana nationals and citizen electors to assemble and to serve as jurors and officers, and we have established the process and procedure to qualify jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our own incorporated powers and capacities. And this is in the General Assembly Handbook. Value statement. We stand under the laws of nature, the laws of nature's God, the 10 Commandments, the Declaration of Independence. We accept the fiduciary responsibility of the Indiana Trust and operate under the prudent man standard, meaning we treat our state business as if it were our own business. And that's in a caring way, not that we have free-for-all access to it. Get that straight. We keep the peace and uphold the public law. We report crime. We value each man and woman as unique creation of our Creator and recognize them as a powerful co-creator. We willingly choose to self-govern and strive to show up as our best self in each and every experience. And Federation directed to keep us focused. All right, so definitions of to what the assembly. Each state assembly consists of one body politic composed of all state nationals and state citizens living within the boundaries of each state. And this is it. There are no other smaller groups out there. There are no, well, we hadn't heard from Christine in a while, so we decided to step up and take this on our own. No, that's not how that works. If you haven't heard from Christine in a while, you haven't opened up an email or you haven't been receiving emails with all the emails that go out, for one. But it's all right here. There's only one state assembly. All right. And state citizens are those state nationals who additionally choose to serve the state government in some capacity, such as jurors, militia members, elected officials, or hired officers. You have to be a state citizen. You have to actually serve. You're actually doing it, not just taking on the title so you can claim it. That's a U.S. citizen. Definitions. Be ye not like dumb driven cattle. Study to make yourself approved and stand firm in what is right. Otherwise, the doorway to the slaughterhouse you were just delivered from is still open and available for you to walk back into. If you're an American, you are only two choices: American state national or American state citizen. Even if you're a federal person, you're an American state national while as a federal person. If you're an American, okay, so if you're not an American, you are instead choosing to act as a U.S. citizen of some kind. What in the hell are you doing infiltrating a state assembly? Any such persons acting as U.S. citizens and seeking to infiltrate and influence our state assemblies must be reported immediately. And in that article, it was to President Trump and kicked out and prevented from any further subversive activity. However, it may still be President Trump, because I kind of think that he is still, because the way all that worked out, I think he clearly stepped up as the territorial president to allow the resident to be the resident of the municipal. Okay, so that was in, okay, so then Article 2130 state active participation is more than just appearing on assembly and training calls and coming to face gatherings. Active participation are actions in movement with other Indiana state nationals and citizens, using the assembly resources or the services of those already serving the assembly to discuss, plan, work, build on course correcting the bad actors and agencies on Indiana soil. When stepping up from attending calls and or gatherings to the planning, managing, administrating aspect, then you are actively participating. Therefore, in addition to presenting to the assembly that you're armored up in your political status, either as a national or citizen, presentment to the assembly, the completed participation member agreement and background check are required. This isn't up for discussion as to if the degree of participation you are wanting to do now doesn't meet your standards of requiring the background check. The background check is required for active participation with the assembly to protect the Indianians you are being called to come in dutiful service to, not for your personal gain, no matter how you have masked or changed up your appearance. Okay. Definitions further. Each state assembly is organized to, which this part here, these are my comments on this to get deeper into explaining this. And this is from Honest info. And that's, you can see the difference in the font. And then that's the link for it. Each state assembly is organized to perform 4 functions. The General Assembly provides a discussion and decision forum for intrastate business and acts as a committee of the whole to decide issues of general interest, conducts elections, and provides oversight for assembly functions. Okay, this is a big one. This is where the people can actually be a part of this, and they don't even want to show up for this call. The International Business Assembly, which is composed entirely of state citizens, conducts the international and interstate business of the assembly. The General Assembly provides the court services and oversees the grand jury, trial juries, officers, and functions of the courts. And for the assembly, militia is focused on promoting public safety within the boundaries of their state and is the well-regulated militia guaranteed to each state for its internal security. Therefore, we have to make sure we get the militia in play for Indiana as well. More definitions. Participation service. We need to continue to add new members who are ready and willing and able to serve, but more importantly, with those that are committed to the duty to serve. So when you look up etymology online, the definition for the word serve is a verb. That means that there's an action to it. To render habitual obedience to, owe allegiance to, also minister, give aid, give help. To do duty toward, show devotion to, set tables, serve at table, offer, provide with. How many of you will go down to your local church and serve at the church if there's a work day for the congregation to come and help support the church? How many go and do service for the church like that? Those are ways, there's many things that you can be doing to help support the assembly as well. Duty. Obligatory service, that which ought to be done. Also the force of that which is morally right. We have a duty. We were told in the Declaration of Independence, we have the right and the duty to overthrow this false government. Okay. Then here was a video from Russell Brand. Here is the credits for it. Here is the link for it. And he was referring to a Glenn Greenwald interview. And here is his quote. "It's a pain in the ass to become righteous, to become active, to confront power. It's not easy, but there is a point when it becomes necessary. And I believe that's the point we've come to." So here's the rest of that to get. I've come to, I never thought I would listen to Russell Brand, but once you get past, he's very, very smart, very smart, very, very smart. He's on top of it. And because he wasn't born on this land, he doesn't have the same kind of investment in it. He also has a different view. He sees it clearly differently than those of us who actually live here. So it's more of a objective point of view that he gives. All right, so we'll go ahead and we want to get things going here. So far, I don't know how that stream is doing in YouTube, but I did see that we have Johnson County on the call, and I know we have Clay County. So I'm going to go ahead and add that in. But that's where you've got to be able to put your comments in the chat. Let me undo that a second. Comments in the chat to let us know that you're here. So we have Clay County and we have Johnson County. And again, those that have at least presented the minimum of their 1779 declaration, 2 witness testimonies from 2 separate different people, and birth certificate, get Zoom link access. All right. I think there's only the 2 of us in here, and then there's only the 1 comment. I really hope YouTube is still holding the call. Anyway, Zoom and YouTube do not always like to work well together, and I know that I have a feeling that was a part of why I had a problem with last Sunday's call or something like that. Zoom was still up when I went into OBS, and Zoom was like, and it did a lot of crazy stuff. Okay, that's what I see at this point. So, okay, so we're going to go through for today. So why is course correction necessary? Indiana Assembly business plan, assembly updates, and next steps. All right, so here are some important articles that will help you get a deeper dive into the importance of why course correction is necessary. And then this one is included, but I wanted to read this particular parts from it. Let me make this a little bit bigger too. Oh, okay. All right, so this is from Article 4183, the Samaritan Connection fraud. It's our job to protect the people and the property of this country. And we will not have the children in our keeping assaulted with every sin known to man just because some municipal corporation subcontractors have lost their minds as well as their moral compass. So that we're entirely clear about this, We do not condone murder, including but not limited to the medical murder of the unborn, of babies, of the aged, or any form of medical murder at all. We do not condone lying, cheating, stealing, racketeering, or extortion of any kind, much less doing any of these things under color of law. We do not condone false witness of any kind. We do not condone idolatry and wish for money tokens to be without elements of idolatry. We wish such tokens to have intrinsic value and to be widely and abundantly available as cash resources in the hands of the living people, as cash resources in the hands of the living people. We do not condone monopolies, commodity rigging, securitization of living flesh, bankruptcy fraud, abuse of trust, interlocking trust dictates, monopolies, and similar unlawful business practices. We do not condone planned obsolescence, irresponsible manufacturing practices, and ineffective damaging waste management. We do not condone marketing of recreational drugs or pornography or other products that denigrate life or devalue our bodies. We do not condone the sale of nutritional deficient or chemically polluted food, or of water that has been denatured by additives, including but not limited to fluoride. We do not condone immorality, nor do we disrespect the natural responsibilities and rights of parents. Even those born without a natural conscience can be taught to observe ethical guidelines. We do not condone the use of propaganda to drive political agendas, or any similar psychological operations used to disinform, defraud, or deny people of their rights, including but not limited to their freedom of unimpaired choice. We do not condone snooping and surveillance and invasion of privacy, nor the keeping of false dossiers on Americans as convenient means of criminalizing their fictional activities without fear of disclosure. We do not condone any bills of attainder, indefinite detainment power asserted by any federal or franchise employee, or any other violation of Article 4 of the federal constitutions as issued. We wish for our guidelines established above to be followed by our employees and our values to be respected in the accomplishment of all duties and functions related to our American government, our states, and our people. We wish for clear lines to be drawn between our administration of the public government owed to the people of this country and the district government and its administration of its delegated functions and its own employees. We wish for people to be fully and freely informed about the issues caused by other political statuses and the impact that political status has on their lives. We're ready to negotiate any and all aspects of the contracts and arrangements that have hitherto established rapport between ourselves and our federal employees for the best interests of all concerned, issued by Anna Maria Reitzinger, fiduciary. Okay. Ooh, go smaller. Okay. All right, so now what I did was I went through YouTube yesterday. So we had to get it as recent as I could possibly do to do a little test, to intentionally and purposely choose stories that reflect a peaceful protest and not violence from or upon either side. Because the only way to stop violence is not to become the violence. Time to stand because we love the divine source creator that is within all of us, to stop using the whip, sit the chair down in front of the table, and bring an end to this. Might does not prove right. No more repeating of history. So we have here Now this I have to make bigger. And what I've done here is like on the other is that I've got the whole thing here so you can get, it's fully credited of where it's from. Protests intensify across France over pension reform. Look at the streets are full. Peru, indigenous revolt. Egyptians protest against house demolitions for new Suez Canal port. So they're demolishing homes in Egypt for a new port. Again, peaceful protesting. Oh, let me go back. I want to show this one here before we go to that one, because that's a two-parter. So then over here we have Bolsonaro supporters refuse to accept Brazil's election results. Protests against Ireland's immigration policy builds momentum in Dublin. The people across the planet are speaking out. Okay, well, here we have New Zealand protesting. Thousands rally against government's pandemic response outside Parliament. But they're also now doing where they're canceling cancel protests, so they're shutting down their passenger rail. Isn't that interesting? Which is a form of their ways of connecting with others, but that's their transportation. What did they do here? They started all the train derailments, right? Okay, so what could I find about what's happening here on this land, on this continent, that's peaceful protests? New York City protests, migrant crisis, peaceful protesting, but there's not as many people. And there, there's a lot of people in New York. But these people are standing up and doing something. Nebraska votes a limit on abortion rights, votes to limit abortion rights. It's time to stop allowing the killing of babies. Plain and simple. Communities across U.S. struggle to meet needs of recent migrants. This is where they're literally unloading them off of the bus into the downtown. You can see that's probably one of their downtown buildings. Okay, so pay attention. Indiana's not there. Why? This is Indiana. Demonstrators nationwide peacefully protest the police beating of Tyree Nichols, and that was 3 months ago. I literally put in, and I wanted to show subject of what I put in YouTube for the search. Peaceful protests in Indiana 2023. So that way we could try to be as close, because they were trying to go back 2 and 3 years further back. So this is what's being shared on, at least through YouTube. This was about the police beating of Tyree Nichols. But that's not even Indiana, because again, search parameters, that's what's coming up. Because, that's what's coming up. Indiana town honors longtime gravedigger. What does that have to do with peaceful protests? That literally is what came up with the search. Police dreadhead cowboy arrested in Northwest Indiana after allegedly assaulting an officer. And that was 20 hours before when I put it here. And I pulled these up today and I got the date in here. Oh, I didn't put that. That was today. All right. Indiana State Police investigating 11th highway shooting of 2023 in Indy. Where? Who on Indiana is stepping up to do anything? And if they are, why aren't they sharing the good news? But that's what I found a lot with Indiana. Through the years, when I've had to do for school and work assignments and things like that, when I've had to do research to pull up what I could find of for just countrywide information, but also to compare it to Indiana. Indiana doesn't like to talk to people. Indiana doesn't share information. But Indiana is the center of the Bible Belt. So if that's the case, then how come if it's the Bible Belt, didn't Jesus tell us we're supposed to love one another as we love ourselves? Well, first we got to put no other God before the Father. Love each other as we love ourselves and share the good news. That's the part people don't want, because then it's like, oh my God, then somebody will know that I know. Or somebody we don't want to know will know, and then they'll be coming after me because I know, and you're already worried about something that hasn't even happened, that you don't even do anything. And willing to suffer and be sufferable while it's all sufferable, than to actually do some little things that can make some big changes. But everybody has to suffer until we want to get up and get moving. Okay, so everybody wants to, I hear a lot of, well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, it's out there. It's been provided. So we're going through again. Here are the various committees and a brief overview as to what the different committees are, and what they need to be working with. But again, it's being fully armored up, background check, and participation member agreement. And if you're wanting to participate with the Jural Assembly at some point, that letter of intent to join the Jural Assembly would be nice to present too. That way you're making your declaration that that's your intent. You want to be a juror. Well, to be a juror, you have to have the standing. So you have to be armored up, no conflicts, to be able to do it. The background check, and then the member participation agreement at that point, because you're actively participating at that point. Okay, so here are several. This is just for the General Assembly Standing Committee. These are just some base ones. These would be huge of getting more people moving and motivated. If it's that they're, tired of hearing, or, hearing that it's always for me, something else for me, maybe if it's coming, as it starts coming from other people, that they'll be more willing to open those emails so they can start moving on. It is interesting that over 400, almost close to 500 emails, and only 40 some, just under 50 actually get opened. That actually even get opened out of those. No kickbacks, no problem with errors or anything. They get delivered, they just don't get opened. Okay, the International Business Standing Committee. All right, so here are some of the different committees to be able to support on for the that's the second pillar for the assembling process. Then here is for the Jural Assembly Standing Committee. So these are the various committees that will need to be formed. And everyone that's a part of the Jural Assembly then, of course, have stated that they want to be jurors. That's all a part of this. But it's also, you have to have these different committees for the different roles that can even develop and put together and build the court in the first place, to even be able to bring the cases to the court so that you can even sit as a juror. It's not like the jury summons, jury duty that you're used to. you don't see any of that background work other than you better check in at this by this certain time, or else we will serve a warrant for your arrest. But then all you have to do is show up. You may have to spend your day there and then a case may come forward, or it ends up being dismissed and you go home. That's not how this works. Being a juror means you're a part of the whole jural assembly. You're a part of the whole building process. It's not just showing up for the whole template to already be done, just fit in, spend maybe a day to look things over, pass what you think, and then go home. There's all the building of everything before a case can even come forward. Then there's also everything that's for the after the case has already gone through the court process. Then there's all the dealing with the documents and whatever orders that follow after that. It's not a one and done. This is actually what the actual work we're supposed to be doing. And these are the Sheriff's Committee. It's the Jural Assembly where the sheriffs are going to be coming out of for all the counties. 92 sheriffs are going to be that Sheriff's Committee on the Jural Assembly. You cannot be a sheriff until you've armored up, canceled all, that includes canceling all the contracts, the background check, and the participation member agreement. And there's going to be sheriffs, there's going to be some vetting with that. There's going to be more vetting than just the background check. We're talking about a sheriff for that county, for that land. This is not just, hey, I'm man on the land. You have to let me in on everything. That's not how that works. You can go over there to the de facto. You can sure try and see how far it gets over there. But you're going to have to commit a moral sin to get anywhere in there. That's your only way in that door. Literally, you have to commit a moral sin to get in that door. So choose wisely. The Militia Assembly. Assembly militias often meet before or after General Assembly meetings, but many also maintain a weekend schedule for training and to conduct exercises to conduct business unique to the militia. Once we have more that are willing to step up to support from the militia aspect, we have Joe, that is our postal area chief for these states here: Kentucky, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, I think Illinois too. And he's already set up with the other states of a weekly full on training that's on the Militia Assembly. He's offered that to Indiana. I've put out the survey. It would be helpful to respond. Okay, to be able to help support finding a day and time that meets Joe's schedule. If you really want to do this, show up. Let's do this. We have an opportunity to get the postal chief, area chief, to give us personal training weekly. You got a great opportunity, and you can't answer a survey. All able-bodied members of the assembly between the ages of 21 and 65, not really worried about age, are expected to actively support their militia in one way or another, either as active militia or acting in support, supply, communications, administrative positions. There are special purpose committees. These are the various committees for this. All right, so general education and training and focus. So on Mondays, or first is Mattermost, the Mattermost platform. So you have that opportunity to get support from declared nationals and citizens across the country, and how they're working through different situations that while you may think your situation is unique, really, there's a lot of core things that are common. That's how they get it all locked into the system. Okay, albeit there may be some little nuances within it, but for the most part, they're all the same. But Mattermost is going to be an excellent tool to be able to support you in this. There's also Sign in America. This is huge. This will help you in getting clarity on the jurisdictions. Federation Training Portal. Universal Self-Governance. Huge, 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 huge. The second course that they've got training that they've got up there now is Some Assembly Required. That's going to be very helpful. Tuesdays, there is a open call from a declared national that she helps with supporting. Yay, I'm on the land, now what? Okay, for some support tools that way. And she's 12 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. Eastern for our time zones. Thursdays, Michelle Ford, she is one of the California coordinators, and she holds Common Law 101. There's her Zoom link details. All right, so training is out there. It's being made available, as well as calls supporting here. You have to show up. All right, goals for 2023: continue American Rescue Operation, improve conversion rate, currently at 19.2 and process to papered up status. Vetting committee process and procedure is in place, but we've got to establish the vetting committee. The process and procedure is in place because the Federation now has already put that together. We still need people to follow through with the process to establish the vetting committee, and that will also get things moving quicker of being able to help people to be able to get through all of the various steps so they can start actively serving. Then stand up our counties. All right, so since our last assembly call, we are now at 27 populated counties that are ready, that are walking the talk now. They're actually out there. They've got at least they're papered up and have at least started working from that perspective. Actively educate to convert the 32, because now there are 32 counties that are in process waiting to be populated. And again, populated means that as soon as the first one has presented their declaration to witness testimonies and birth certificate, that populates the county. And then, of course, as more come on, it populates it even further. But that's the initial populating of the county. And there are 32 that there are people that are not populated yet, that people have at least spoken and reached out to say that they're interested. So we want to encourage them to get populated here. Actively connect in with, because now then that leaves that there are 33 counties that still haven't spoke up at all. We want to establish the militia cert state team to build teams in every county from once we've built the state level team. Establish outreach teams on each county as well. Establish special purpose grand jury and invoke ex parte Milligan. Gather jury pool, establish role and elect offices. So also, if you will do a search on ex parte Milligan and look up that case, you'll see that that's an Indiana. It's an Indiana case, and Indiana hasn't moved yet. Establish our Treasury Department, seeking armored up nationals to present. Of course, with the Treasury Department, there's the added finance check. And some activities can be done while interim and waiting for the Federation vetting bid. Treasury is a Federation vetting that has to go through in that process. But there are some things that can be done in the interim while waiting through that process from them as well. But it's a assembly vetting process and Federation vetting for Treasury. Once vetted and established for the Treasury Committee, open a non-federal municipal credit union account. And then add it, ensuring to add additional signers. Because there should be more than one on the account, right? Then hand off the Treasury function from coordinator to Treasury Department, and then execute the budget. Get banking committee functioning, and then that will further develop budget to move forward in that direction. Okay, so assembly updates. All right, and this affects records, vetting, business, international, assembly, jury pool, militia membership committees, things like that. Right now, there are 404 in process, 404 Indianians that have at least spoken up, but haven't completed at least the minimum presentment. One Federation background check has been, vetting processes can be completed. That's me. 3 background check completed. I'm not included in that so that it does the numbers correctly for this aspect here, but that meant my background check was already approved in order to even have the because the Federation then did background check. Then there are 4 federal persons that have declared their national status. I have connected with one of them that may be able to be changing his status soon, and he's been eagerly waiting to try and get to that point. So we'll see how that goes. Armored up. At this point in time, there are 30 that are fully armored up. Okay, but again, at this point, only 3 have actually presented their background checks now. But there are 30 that are armored up, that are eligible to move forward to that next step to participate. And there are 64 that are papered up. Now, some of those papered up may think they're papered up because they presented everything except with their declaration of political status. They presented the declaration of political status, so if it was needing the embossed seal, but then they forgot to go ahead and submit, whether they ended up mailing it or not, but at least presenting to the assembly a copy of the cover letter and proof of mailing with it. And so many, or if they have done it, they just have not presented that piece to be able to complete that step. So there are the last time I checked, there were 6 that were literally at that point. That's all they needed. It was to present their cover letter and proof of mailing and sending the declaration of political status. They're that close to being armored up. So it's, think about that. You may, check again to make sure, because there are the declaration of political status is a process. It's not just getting the document notarized like the common carry. It actually has a cover letter and gets sent, and then you present a copy to the assembly for your record. The baby deed also has a cover letter that gets sent. with the baby deed. There, if you're doing the private auto deed, there's other steps that you'll want to get in the Mattermost channel for travel to move forward further with that. So don't think, those foundation documents, those are the ones that get recorded and published, and then you only use them when you need them. But those give you the authority and standing then to start serving the notices. Those give you the authority and standing to start course correcting anyone. So that's what what needs to be, so we know what the breakdown is of how many are papered up. And papered up means that they've at least presented birth certificate, 2 witness testimonies, and 1779 declaration of naturalization. Armored up is presented all the documents and cancellation notices, fee schedule. They're literally left at the background check and the participation member agreement, and showing up. The key part, showing up. All right, so here we have, this is where I go into explain about understanding gaining the knowledge of what a populated county is. So we have 27 counties populated, 32 in process, 33 in waiting. Since our last call, we had Clay County, which Casey's on the call. So we were able to bring Clay County online. All right, so we show here, this was the last time we met, March 26th for the assembly call. So here's a comparison of the counties then. And I pulled this up today to show which county. These are the counties still waiting. So we had a new county come up too that wasn't. Anyway, so there was a comparison of the status of the counties themselves. All right, so now here's some raw details. This is a breakdown of the counties that have spoken up. I haven't put listed in here the counties that the 33 that no one's spoken up. So here's a breakdown. This first group is showing what's in the LRO. There's 500 and some in the LRO now. So, which is another point I would like to bring out, because there's some thinking that because there seem to be getting automated emails that Christine's not still around and not doing things. Christine's the one setting up the automated emails because there's over 500 emails that have to go out that can't all go through my email server. It can't carry the weight of that. It has to go through an email server to carry the weight of that and to manage the email list. So I'm the one still writing all those emails that are going out, even though it's coming from a service. So just want everybody to know, Christine hasn't stepped away to let computer do much things. So if that was why some are not answering emails because it's coming from that, you'll have to get over that, because I can't, there's no way I can be able as one to be able to keep up with all the emails without having an email tool. Again, it's a lot of work that has to be done. Okay, so there are 514 that are Indianians in the LRO. Now, there are 9 that are duplicates. There were issues with they missed their password or something, and so they ended up making an additional email account, as well as one we're not counting because it's for the assembly to have a record. So we're not counting that in with these numbers. Okay, so this shows how many on each county have declared that they're national, or declared that they're citizen, or declared that they're federal. And remember, you can declare that you're a citizen, but you're not actually a citizen until you've completely armored up and you're actually where you're actively stepping up and serving. Okay. That's something that many need to realize. They still think it's like the US citizen, that you can declare yourself a citizen and you're a citizen 24/7. But that's not what the actual role of a citizen. You can't be a citizen 24/7 because you're not standing in the capacity to serve the state 24/7. You're not. So that's that, so it's things to think about that many are thinking because they declared citizen, but they didn't follow through with the full armoring up process for that, and then moving to actually start serving. This shows which counties are the federal persons that have declared. All right, so then I moved over here into this segment. This is because so we can see all the counties. I'm just doing the breakdown. It's the same column headers over here. So this segment over here where it has papered up, armored up, so it's showing how many on each county are papered up, how many are armored up, how many have presented background checks, and how many that are acceptable background checks, and then how many have moved forward to the federation. So right now there's only the one federation for myself, and that is the only background check that, so I've included it for this chart so that it's including for full, because once the coordinator's role sunsets, or someone else that has far better skills and abilities to be able to move things forward, then I can be able to step up and do other things. I'm still counted in that because I would like to be able to help at some point from that aspect too. All right, and then over here, there at this point, of the 34 that are armored up, only 10 have actually presented their member agreement. And only 7 presented a juror intent to join the juror assembly. But that doesn't, and the crazy thing is that of the juror assembly, I think I did only put in here, only check the ones that were actually eligible then for juror. But that for the member agreement, they could do juror intent, because that's, so you're in the process of, but participating member agreement still has to occur. So even if you didn't want to be a juror, it's still to be able to participate in supporting as a state, to support the state. Okay. So that's where I wanted to also then bring this into play, or into your awareness. Let me make this a little bit. Okay, so of the 34 Indianians that are armored up, eligible to actively participate and juror, enough for a full jury panel with alternates and the officials for the state court, only one on Lake County that is armored up presented their background check and participation agreement and juror intent. 4 have presented background checks. Of those, they also have presented, 2 have presented their member agreement, 1 juror. 10 that presented participation member agreement, only 3 move forward with the background check, and 7 with the intent, juror intent. And of the 7 that presented their intent to juror, only 1 moved forward with a background check, and 6 did move forward with their member agreement. Just to give you an idea of what the numbers really say. All right. So General Assembly, assembly training, and general education call days and times. Showing up is the first step to participation. So in January through February of this year, a survey went out to all declared and incoming Indianians to select a day and time for overall assembly calls that would best fit their schedule to be able to attend and participate. So whether it's an assembly call, a training call, or a general education call. All right, so for the survey of 400 plus emails sent, and they were sent a few times, not just one email out. After sending a few times from the end of January through February, from January through February. So sent multiple times, and each time over 400 emails each time, only 21 people actively responded to the survey. So then it was put on a ballot, in a sense, through a email vote. Again, a few times, 400 plus emails sent, only 19 actually responded to cast their vote. And they cast their vote to set for assembly training calls and general assembly calls, both on Sunday nights at 7 p.m. So you can't do two calls at the same time at 7 o'clock. So I separated to do alternate every other. One weekend the assembly call, the opposite weekend the training call. And then Wednesday night, for Wednesday at 7 p.m, the vote for the general education call. Currently showing up, this has been going on since February 26th, from the first time a call change occurred through now, May 21st. Since doing, for those that were participants in the survey and those that actually voted, okay, 21 participated in the survey, 19 actually voted. But since then, I've been the one on Gibson County. 2 have been floating on Lake coming in, and 1 on Marion. That's it. Of the ones that surveyed and of the ones that even voted, those are the ones that actually even then showed up. So this is not a time, even though the survey and the vote specifically asked for a time that would work with your schedule. So it doesn't work with your schedule, or you'd show up. So times are going to be, days and times are going to be reworked. Okay, because you have to show up to get some work done. And if this time isn't going to work, we're going to find another time where you can show up. But you can't say, well, this one can only show up on this day, this one can only show up on this day, this one can only show up on this day, and nobody wants to try and meet in the middle. Or if it is something that's personal that you just don't, if you, for whatever reason, you have a personal dislike of me, that's on you. Because this is a bigger picture. I'm not the one getting directly involved with you as you're working on the build. All I'm doing is making sure that you're eligible to do it. So we got to make changes to figuring out how we're going to be able to, you got to show up to the table if you're going to do anything. If you really want what benefits, free stuff you can get from it, you got 3 choices. You're back to either district and municipal assembly at that point, because it's not here. So, and then you might as well unsubscribe from the email, and then that would free up your email. You wouldn't get so much email from me either. Okay. Also, same too is when there's over 500 that I'm trying to work with, a personal phone call isn't happening. It's not happening. And many get a little upset to think that I won't just, in that moment, I'll get emails. I need you to call me right now. It's an emergency. Well, are you bleeding? Do you have a broken bone? Is there a fire? Are you being kidnapped? No. Then that's not an emergency. That's not an emergency to stop me from whatever I'm doing, to stop for something you think may take 5 minutes when you really want to hold me on that call as long as you can possibly hold me on the phone call while you got me. And that's not fair to me either, where you can schedule a free consult and then I can block off and have designated time with you to be able to support your questions. But a phone call isn't happening. Not to mention, I don't know that's really you. And most of the ones that want to do a phone call, I haven't actually even had a Zoom with them at all. And they want me to believe that they're the ones on the other end of that phone line too. I haven't even actually met you. You've gone to a public notary to get your paperwork notarized. You've maybe even gone to a county recorder to record it and then presented. So I haven't actually met you, but you've presented all your correct paperwork, but yet you want me to stop what I'm doing because you've presented paperwork to get on a phone call with you. I really don't know you and you want me to stop. So that it just can't happen. There's too many people. And I'm still one person. I'm not one woman. I'm not going to be able to accommodate, because it's not a 5-minute phone call. Really. It turns into a 15-20 minute at least. And I'm not able to manage my time by, forced interruptions like that and still be able to make sure I'm keeping everything organized for everyone else. It's a lot of pieces to keep together. Okay, next steps. Continuing to grow our numbers. In the state assembly, everyone is in outreach. You should always be talking. You always want to keep a printout, physical hard copy printout in your hand of the 5 statuses, the 1-pager of how the government structure is, the 1779 declaration of things. Have the Declaration of Independence with you. Have physical pieces in your hand that instead of, when you're on a break, instead of playing your game or running through your emails in that break, staple all those together and just pull that out and read that. And you're going to learn from that. And you may even spike curiosity from others for conversation. Well, what are you reading? Well, what's that about? And then you can share it. You would have the information in your hand. You could be able to share it with them right then. Because we're supposed to share the good news, not keep it to ourselves and only tell those that we feel should get it. And we're going to continue to assemble and train our militia. Populate the counties, build the county structure. Again, back to the militia, begin our training on first aid, disaster response. We're supposed to be doing a first aid, first responder training. So, gotta show up, gotta step up, gotta respond. Populate our General Assembly structure. Education and training is essential. Here is a key source that the assemblies have been using, Brett Allen Winters. He has been approved with the Federation to support us in learning this. This here is like a college level textbook. Hold on and I'll get it. It is literally this thick. This is a college level textbook. Okay. This really is at least a year if you're hardcore trying to work on it. It gives a lot of history that will help pull all this together so you know what happened, so that you can make sure that it doesn't happen again. But this is the book. And he's got other courses as well. I've put the offer out there to do a common law study training we did for a little bit there about 2 years ago. There are recordings on the Assembly website where we were going through it for a little while, but it got to where no one was actually doing any of the going through the study guide and answering any questions beforehand or even reading. They were just waiting to show up for me to read it in the call. So that's not a study call, means everybody read the work before and, you know, can come together to discuss what they read, answer the questions together, not just everybody show up as Christine reads. So that wasn't the point of the call, was to be a study group, and it wasn't a study group. It was becoming just to show up for someone else to do the reading. So again, you got to figure out how you're gonna, you know, work through this. If you're not gonna support it here at your own state assembly, at some point you got to gain that knowledge, because nobody can pour it into your head for you. Okay, outreach and militia membership committee focus. Stand up the militia at the state and county levels. We need state level participation to work on building this team. If you're interested, connect to records, CERT training at state level, and to develop each county. The CERT aspect is more of the community response aspect of it for each of us. And then there's the militia side that's more of for the more peacekeeping sheriff, that aspect of it. CERT's going to be more of what, because I don't have any military experience. So I'm going to be more on the CERT side of being able to support with emergency medical first aid training, things like that, supporting with helping. I'm working. My big vision goal is to have a community garden to be able to help support, and hopefully to be able to encourage others to be able to build community gardens as well. So that we can be able to take care of our own food and help each other. Veterans outreach, seeking a support team, needs states level participants, support services or sources to connect with, VFW, Eagles, Moose, VA Hospital, Veteran Affairs. Anyone that's interested, that's armored up and has presented a background check. At this point, even if it's one that was, may have been ordered a few years ago, a current background check is needed. It is what it is. All right, so militia focus, which is also dealing with CERT, food, water, healing. We need those that are skilled to start figuring out how to start bringing free energy to Indianians. But that would mean you have to share your skills. That means you would have to be able to share what you've learned and what you're using and things like that. Food community garden centers. I was posting updates where I started in February with seeds. We now have put a lot of things in the ground, and I've got to do like a little tour of that too. Potatoes, we just I've started with potatoes, where I've actually started my own starts from potatoes. And we've also gotten my husband got some seed potatoes, so trying different things on that aspect. We've got tomatoes going, different onions, peppers, romaine lettuce, kale, cucumbers, eggplant, sugar peas, and pole beans. And we're going to be doing some more. We're going to be planting some some more corn and squash. I do have some pumpkin going. I put pumpkin in from, I did my own seed starts on that, and put them then in a big container with a mint, so that I've been studying companion planting and everything. So this has been great. So, but I will do an update as now that I've been moving things, actually putting them in the ground. So start seeing that, and I'll get that out there. But it'll be on I've got an other playlist or something like that, gardening or something like that for it. Bringing forward healing centers, no more hospitals. They're actually death centers. We need healing centers. Working with biostructure, permaculture, nutrient dense food, structured water, setting up ways of how of different ways of how to collect water, and how to be able to separate out gray water and black water. I've been paying attention to all this stuff too. So there's a lot of things that we need to learn, because that's the only way we're going to save ourselves. But learn it and then teach it, share it. All right, so here are areas the assembly committees are to be actively working together to break down together, and this is to break it down together with the assembly and not solo. This is the process that Anna is putting forward of how we're supposed to start breaking this down. And these are the articles that are the core ones here, as well as many can be able to still give the notices. The link to that is on the assembly website. There's a link to it on the debt redemption link as well, and it'll say notices to send. But here is where the assembly committee should be jural assembly aspect, really, and business assembly can be digging into these articles and how to be able to break down the different elements here to call this liquidation in. So where I'm hearing a lot of people, I don't know what to do. I would like to help, but I don't know what to do. We're being told what we need to do. We're being given the direction, but it means you have to actually look at it. And even if I were to go in and read it and still come up with a template outline, you still would have to look at the template outline and follow it. There's only so much I can do to bring it all forward to you. That's the role of the coordinator. I can only bring it to you, bring you the resources, but I can't make you move one way or another on anything. But here are ways that we can get working to actually start getting some work done. And so Indiana can be heard as well. Strategy for working with the corporations in this course correction. Anybody that's interested in working on the strategy that's armored up, presented background check, and presented member agreement. We've got to pull together that strategy. Then once we get the strategy together, we've got to start talking with these people. Fine, we're going to have to connect with them, but we have to get the strategy in place so we know, so you all know what to talk about when you get to that point. So there's work to be done. The work is already defined out there as to what work to do. Show up and start getting into the work. Here are the letters of notices. I'm still working on trying to, there's been a few things. The printer died. The ink went all inside the printer. I had to replace the printer. Anyway, they're not out yet because when you send a round of mailings, because it's informing everybody that you're sending, because you're doing 92 counties, it takes a bit to get 92 envelopes and postage, everything coordinated for 92 envelopes. And then I'm going to end up having to take it to, I'll probably have to take it in town or into Princeton or something, because I don't think our little postal guy, that just mess him up. He wouldn't know what to do with that many at once. So it's a lot. It's more than it's a lot involved, as well as each one of those notices it's 26 pages double-sided that are for those notices. And then so here's a list of who all will be served those notices. And anybody can go out and print those notices out and mail those notices as well, but also send an email to records to say, hey, I sent out notices to here, and here. Here's the proof of mailing that they were sent. These notices were sent. Check. All right. We know notices are already they should start seeing them. But it's also, and I've brought this up before, is that while it's real easy that you can get an assembly coordinator to write a letter that is standing in behalf of 500 Indianians, but they're still only seeing one letter. But yet, if 500 Indianians send them a letter, they'll see 500 letters sitting on their desk as opposed to one letter sitting on their desk. And then that's you actively supporting to enforce the public law. Okay, so got to have the promos in. So here is, if you go to the Square site for the assembly, here are different options that you can be able to choose to be able to have to support directly on various things, or if you wanted to do a monthly, set up a monthly contribution support to the assembly as well. These are all gifts. All gifts are welcome. All benefits are waived. Any services that are paid through for the assembly, those are also considered gifts. As long as, if there are items that require to be a national, as long as you present that you corrected at least done the 1779 2 witness testimonies and birth certificate, your order will go out. All right. So again, here's, if you wanted to consider a monthly gift, is a link to the site, or any of the other services, products. Cash and money orders are accepted. If you are to do a money order, make it payable. This is my married name that I have a state of Indiana issued ID that they'll be able to accept, so that I can be able to get it cash, because my credential card is in my birth certificate name. And this is the mailing address for the assembly. If you're able to go to your post office, to your local post office, and go to the counter and ask for some extra registered mail labels and the little white receipts for them, and you want to send that, you're welcome to send those as well, because those will be helpful. Obviously I can get certified mail labels, but registered mail labels are always helpful. So that, like with the document prep, because I do include the labels and include them in there right on their documents. So it's already put on there, because I tell everyone in all the calls, and have for years, you want to make sure that you put the mailing number. You want to have a tracking number, because you are serving notice, preferably registered mail. There are some things, yes, it can go certified mail, but you want a form of tracking, and you include that number on the cover letter, because a lot of times there's a mail processing center, or they have an assistant that they do a lot of, they'll open up the envelope and go ahead and work through it, get it organized and everything, if it is something for them to be able, that recipient, to deal with or not. And so by the time it gets to them, that envelope could be completely gone by that point, and they wouldn't know that it was sent registered mail unless you put on there that it was sent registered mail. You want to make sure you put the date that you mailed it, and you want to put your autograph. You don't have to put a thumbprint, but you do want to put an autograph because that's your authority, that you're stating that I am serving notice with this. Okay, here's the link for the Debt Redemption Center, as well as this is where it routes to. If you want to schedule a consult with me, or to schedule recording and publishing, there you go, for the link for that. Earlier today, the transfer of the domain, the indianaassembly.org, finally finished out. I was able to then get emails set up where I'm collecting now through the new server. So that should be flowing back into place. Got the SSL certificate set back up for the Indiana Assembly, so you can put in https://the-indianaassembly.org. It's still secure, but it does still transfer to the states.americanstatenationals.org, because the website itself is being hosted there right now, which through the new server we have web hosting space, so we'll be working on developing an update, cleaning up the website and freshening it up and moving over there at some point, but all still using the indianaassembly.org. So those things should be moving smooth now. When I noticed it was, I went out earlier and checked, and because before, when I first put in the transfer, it was saying remove the SSL certificate, so it was saying unsafe, and give you an option to be able to still go in, or if you wanted to go back. But then today it showed where you couldn't, it wasn't even giving you that option. So that's when I knew, and I was able to go in and redirect it, get it. It was back up, so I could switch it over to that server. So that should start moving a little bit smoother there too. All right, so here's the assembly member points of order for your reference, so you can get an idea of the kind of decorum that's expected from assembly members. Here is the partition member agreement of purpose and conduct. This is for active and armored up members, not just papered up. Have to be armored up. And then should be following with the background check. And here is the information on the background check letter. And then here is a link for letter of intent to join the General Assembly. Send things to records at the indianaassembly.org. That has been, I've done the test emails back and forth now with the new server. So all that's retrieving and sending now again. I have gone ahead and canceled WeTransfer as far as paying the extra for the monthly fee. Many were having, for whatever reason, having issues with not working well. So I went ahead and canceled that. It wasn't really helping. Most are still end up emailing directly anyway. So no point in wasting fees for that when it wasn't being used to cover that fee. And it was 20. What is that? We transfer $23 a month, so that will free up $23 a month, so that no point in keeping that going. It's not really working well. All right. Again, here's the info on background checks. I did not set up a email yet for vetting at the indianaassembly.org as I had set up in my previous communications, because right now only 5 emails are in the mail plan, business mail plan. We can upgrade to 10, but right now people weren't responding to the vetting email anyway. They were still sending it to records anyway, so which is fine. So I've updated this just have it sent here. Okay, so again, while there are some activities that you can do in the interim to actively serve, do not presume that you will have access to assembly resources and assets until the completed background check has been presented to the Assembly Records Committee. This layer of trust has been given in the past, and it caused the assembly to be harmed by those unable to break free from the bad programming behaviors. Trust is earned, not given. If this hurts your feelings and this isn't the place for you, 3 choices, right? All right, so any new business other members wish to present? If so, it can be emailed to record so that, and put subject General Assembly agenda item so we can, so I'll be able to see it clearly to make sure and include it. No one's responded to that, but it's available because we'll be moving forward with that. The process to send agenda item requests will get developed as those requests come in. The way that process will evolve, it will reveal itself. All right, I only saw, and it's not even showing, so I don't think YouTube ended up following through. And so then, well, it is what it is. Those that made it to the call, So gratitude, and wanted to make sure we got these points out there. So at this point in time, I'm just putting to go ahead and for a motion to adjourn until Sunday the 4th of 2023 for assembly call. Bear in mind again that the time and day could end up working out, changing in between then, if we can work that out. But at this point, since I'm still seeing the low volume of those responding, we'll see how that goes. It may just be of when I just go ahead and set it, and that's how we go. So Casey, you are the one on the call, dear one. So I'm going to have to ask you, are you willing to make the first motion so we can adjourn? Thank you. She did raise her hand on the video, so I'm going ahead and putting Casey on here. And she is on Clay County for the first motion. I'm going to second the motion, and then we'll all be, so that we can be able to be all in favor and go ahead and end the call for this evening. Thank you again. I wish you lots of love. You know how to reach me. Did you have any questions? You good? Okay, dear. All right. I will talk to you. See you on the next call. I wish you lots of love. Peace.